Very willingly, Mr. President, we are ready for the champion's questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. But before we start, Mr. President, I want to spread into the record that I was alarmed when I received reports that there are reports that there were a number of errant Pogos in the past years. According to the PAGCOR's list of approved Pogos, we only have 40 as of May 12, 2021. That's what I want to know, Mr. President. How accurate is this list, Mr. President? Ilan ba talaga ang totoong nag-ooperate na pugo sa ating bansa? Ilan lamang yan sa mga gusto kong malaman? Mr. President, I came across an article from Business World dated March 4, 2021 with a headline, BIR projecting weak pugo revenue in 2021. News Desk, on the other hand, published an article on March 6, 2021 that Philippines Tax Bureau predicting near 50% fall in Pogo tax revenue in 2021. Mr. President, wala akong problema sa Pogo. Basta nagbabayad lang sila ng tama at sumusunod ang mga foreign investors and workers ng Pogo sa ating mga batas. Kahit taasan pa natin ang tax kapag may problema sa ating koleksyon at nalulusutan tayo ng mga Pogo operators, pati na rin ang kanilang mga foreign workers, kawawa pa rin tayo. Kahit mataas pa ang kanilang tax, kapag marami pa silang ibang violations, kawawa tayo. We do not want our country and the Filipino people to be at the disadvantage, Mr. President. Nais ko rin pong magtanong upang mas maintindihan ang mga policy issues concerning Pogo in relation to Senate Bill number 2232. My first question, Mr. President, to refresh our memories, how much did the Philippines collect in Pogo taxes in 2019 and 2020?
Are we ready? Mr. President, before I answer His Honor's official first question, he also posed a question which I prepared for, so we might as well show it. Sabi niya, ilan ba talaga ang Pogo? So sinama na rin natin yung sagot, Mr. President, para clear, because I also wanted our colleagues to be clear on this. May I direct everyone's attention to the screen kasi po magkaiba ang data na binibigay ng BIR at saka ng PAGCOR. So, you will look at the total number of registered Pogos, both foreign-based and Philippine-based. Ang record ng PAGCOR is 38, ang record ng BIR is 43. So, may 5 dyan na, I guess, hindi captured ng PAGCOR, no? Now, thankfully, yung kanilang numbers for local gaming agents, and I repeat, no, for the information of the body, ito lang naman yung representative. By law, if you're a foreign corporation doing business in the Philippines, then you need a local agent. So, yung local agent naman is same lang ang figures nila. But sa service providers, malaki ang difference. So, importante kung magkasundo tayo sa numbers na yan because paano hahabulin ng BIR yung 232 nila samantalang sa PAGCOR less than 100 ang 100 ang difference nung numbers na yan. In any case, I'd like to inform the body that the committee report that we are using now as a basis of our discussion includes a provision that requires the various agencies to issue joint and consolidated rules and regulations for the implementation and efficient sharing of information among the agencies. So, yun muna yung part 1 na sagot ko sa ating champion, the senator from Jensan.
Thank you, Mr. President. With this different number, Mr. President, presented by PAGCOR and
BIR.
What is their explanation, Mr. President, about this different number?
Wala silang explanation, Mr. President, because they do their job independent of each other. So it's unacceptable, no? I'm sure all of us will agree that we cannot move forward. I was talking to the majority floor leader earlier and telling him that in as much as I will defend this bill because these are businesses that must be taxed, but there's a lot to do to clean it up to ensure that we capture all of them. So we want to be sure that in the future, moving forward, makapture nilang lahat. Sabi ko nga, di mag-compare sila ng notes, mag-usap naman sila kasi yung 5 na Pogo, mukhang wala dun sa listahan ng PAGCOR, tapos more than 100 yung service providers that PAGCOR doesn't include in their list.
What's the action taken by this problem, Mr. President? May I know?
Well, what was it? The question is, what is the action taken?
What is the taking action? Anong ginawa nitong action dito para kung tama ba ito o ano bang
Yeah. Well,
yung step natin to address this, siyempre, yung tax liabilities.
yes, I understand. So as I mentioned, in our committee report, we already have a provision which I just read into the record that requires that these government agencies would be sharing information, would be coordinating with each other, and importantly, will come up with joint resolutions para sabay nila makapture yan. Hindi yung iba yung sinasabi ng isang agency, iba din yung sa kabila. We want them to work together to capture this, Mr. President, and that will be in our law.
Ito kasi pagkakaalam ko, Mr. President, sa isang Pogo license. Halimbawa, sa Pogo license mo, you can operate only 10 service providers, meaning isang table. Ay yung iba, isang license, 10 lang yung nakalagay sa license nila, pero they are operating hundreds of tables and service providers, Mr. President. So hindi yan yun yung yung isa sa mga operation ng Pogo. Minsan sa license nila, sa permit nila 10 service providers lang nakalagay doon or 10 table lang yan. And then but their operation is nasa mga 500, 300 yung table nila. So yan yung concern ko, Mr. President, about how we double check this operation, Pogo, so that we can maximize the tax liabilities, Mr. President, the collection.
Actually, Mr. President, for so long as their license allows them to engage in gaming of these different kinds, they're allowed to do it. So wala naman hong restriction as long as they have a license for that. As to service providers, these service providers are separate companies, separate entities that are also taxed separately that provide services that the POGOs need to operate but are not handling themselves. Now, to be clear, there are POGOs that handle in-house their services. But there are also POGOs that do not handle these services and they hire service providers. So we are also taxing the service providers. So both POGOs and service providers are taxed, but differently. Kasi ang POGO po, they get a final tax of the gross gaming revenue, and the service providers are taxed 25% of their net income.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I know, President, if there's a limitation, if one Pogo license and if there's a limit of service providers that they can operate every license?
Sorry. Understand the question. Is there a limit on the number of service providers that POGOs can use? Is that the question?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ang service providers kasi po, nagbibigay nga ng service that kailangan ng POGO. So, walang limit yon. In other words...
I mean, Mr. President, sorry, Mr. President, to interrupt you.
Yeah. No, so in other words, I'm saying that for so long as the POGO needs a particular kind of service, they can hire any service provider. They can hire one, they can hire two service providers, depending on the services that will be offered. Because to give clarity to this discussion, because to be honest, I did not understand this before. The service providers provide a number of services such as customer relations, strategic support provider, IT, gaming software platform provider, live studio and streaming provider, and so on and so forth. So, pwedeng iba-iba yung provider niya to provide those services para magawa ng Pogo yung business niya.